let's just try it. And I was like, okay. He would score like 11 points on me in a game, and I would end the game with 0. And I think to myself, wow, like, this actually has a lot of parallels to my students that are learning the harp. So about a month ago, my husband convinced me to try to play pickleball. And if you've never played pickleball before, it's pretty similar to tennis. I mean, there are a lot of different rules, but it's played on a slightly smaller court. You use a racket like this and a wiffle ball. And yeah, it was very interesting. And my husband is someone who loves sports. He's really good at sports. He's really good at a lot of things. Sports arts is one of them. And I know he's been looking for a way to be active, like outside of work. And so he's like, let's go to the store. Let's get some pickleball rackets. I just found like some courts nearby that are open to the public. Let's just try it. And I was like, okay. I don't really consider myself a sporty person. I mean, look at my job now. I just tend to gravitate towards more artsy, creative things. And I did play some sports growing up, but it just wasn't really my thing. And so I was a little hesitant, but I was like, I just gotta try. So we did, and I ended up loving it. It is so fun. I feel like it's very beginner friendly. And yeah, it's just been really fun, a fun way to be active without like realizing you're being active, if that makes sense. Like you don't realize how much time has passed, but you get like a good workout after playing it. And so yeah, my husband is a great coach and we've just had a lot of fun, but it's definitely been a learning curve for me. So I just wanted to share some things that I've learned throughout this process that have come up. And I think to myself, wow, like this actually has a lot of parallels to my students that are learning the harp. And so I just want to share some lessons that I've learned, and hopefully you'll find them encouraging. So one big lesson I've learned is just the importance of a positive mindset. And I realize that can sound kind of cliche. And I will say, like, it's important to have like an analytical attitude as you're learning something new. You have to know like where you need to improve, like what went wrong this time, how can I improve that for next time? That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like, I think oftentimes we're our own worst critic. And sometimes that's not the most helpful when you're learning a new skill. Like if you were, teaching your friend how to play, you wouldn't be so tough on them as like you are with yourself. So maybe that's the same for you. I know for me, like once I start getting defeated and discouraged, like things just kind of go down from there. So, in the beginning, like my husband and I would just kind of like hit the ball back and forth, and as he was teaching me the basics. But then once we started playing real games for points, he would score like 11 points on me in a game, and I would end the game with 0. And yeah, that would get really discouraging after a while. And I just noticed that my self-talk was just not really productive. It was really just making me more frustrated. Pay attention to like the words that you're saying to yourself and just make sure that they're really encouraging and positive. And my husband thankfully has been able to cut through that and kind of get me out of my own head and say like, you've been playing for 2 weeks. It's okay if you aren't like nailing everything. And so sometimes you just need that someone else kind of speaking into this process that you're on, which kind of leads me to my next point. I think it is so important to have people on you with this journey because it is so easy to get in your head. So you need an outside perspective to give you encouragement and to let you know like the things that you are doing really well and to, give you encouragement and productive, positive feedback on things you can improve on. But I think it is really important to just have someone who can just encourage you and just help you keep on moving, even when things get hard in the journey. Oh my gosh. I just scored a point on him. That doesn't happen very often. So when it happens, it's very exciting. So another thing I've learned that actually comes up a lot when I'm working with students is that it's typically when you try to perfect everything at once, that's where it starts to feel really overwhelming and discouraging. And what I've noticed as I'm playing pickleball, like there are a lot of things to keep in mind as you're playing. Like you got to make sure you keep your eye on the ball. You have to make sure you have the right stance because that actually depends like where the ball ends up going. You got to make sure that you're hitting it correctly, that your hands are positioned correctly on the racket. I mean, there are just so many things to keep in mind that kind of goes into being able to like play a good game. But that's a lot to think about when you're just trying to hit the ball over the net, which sometimes like that doesn't even happen. So what I have found is that I just have to focus, like if my husband and I are like playing a game, if I just focus on one or two things, like just making sure that I'm keeping my eye on the ball, that I'm keeping, that I'm moving across the court in time, just focusing on two things. If I can get those down, then that helps me see progress right away versus trying to focus on a million things at once. And that's something I talk a lot about with students, is that it can be really overwhelming trying to perfect everything at once, but just focus on one or two things. Then when those start to feel normal, it could be like a week you spent on those things, or maybe just like 1 or 2 days, but whatever it is for you, just kind of work on things in chunks, and then you can kind of build on them over time, and you're going to see a lot more progress that way. And I think getting those quick wins and feeling like you've gotten some strategies under your belt, like that motivates you to come back the next day and keep on working on it. And the other main lesson that I've learned is to not lose sight of why I started playing. Like, I'm not trying to be a pro pickleball player. That is not my goal. I'm just trying to be able to have fun with my husband and friends, and just be able to enjoy being outside and being active, like playing pickleball. Like, at the end of the day, as frustrated that I sometimes get, like not being able to score very many points against him right now, like it doesn't really matter who wins, right? And sometimes I would get just so focused on just like scoring a point that I'm not even enjoying it. Like I'm just getting frustrated with myself. But then I'm kind of missing the point. Like, isn't the whole point of me wanting to learn this fun sport, like to just have fun with it? So why am I making it not fun as for playing? And I try to tell students as well, I have this conversation a lot, that like technique is never the end goal when you're playing the harp. It's just a means to allow you to play with joy and freedom. So we spend a lot of time in our courses like talking about the importance of technique and just making sure that you have the tools that you need. But it's easy for those things to start weighing you down if you kind of lose sight of why you started playing. And so I just want you to keep that in mind, that technique is important, but it's not the end goal. And same thing with pickleball. Like I can't just like show up to a game and not worry about any of the strategies or like the techniques of playing. I need to know how to hold the racket and how to position myself and get around the court. But once I start getting really frustrated, I'm missing the point of playing. So that's just one thing that's, I think, has been really powerful in kind of shifting my mindset. Because every minute that I spend being frustrated and not feeling good enough is a moment that I'm missing out on with my husband and just enjoying this fun sport. And I found, and my husband did a great job of kind of like encouraging me in this, that it's typically when you start to enjoy the process that you start hitting those milestones that you're just running after. And similarly to my journey with the harp, when I think back on why I started playing, like I didn't know I wanted to be a professional harpist. That really was not even like on my mind when I was in 3rd grade, like just starting to play. I just started playing because I loved the sound of it. I loved the way it felt under my fingers, the way it made me feel. And it's a means to like share music with others. And so I would just encourage you, like, and I'd love to hear in the comments, like, why did you start playing the harp? And can you remind yourself of that when you do hit some tough times in your journey? Maybe you're just starting out and you're just finding like yourself a little overwhelmed by all the things to think about. Or maybe you've been playing for a while and there's still some things that you want to get better in. Just remind yourself of why you started playing and let that motivate you to not try to be perfect, but to just enjoy this process of playing. So I'd love to hear from you. Like, are there any new hobbies that you've picked up recently? I don't know if you've seen my bread video, but I mean, I'm still making bread. I'm kind of just finding other hobbies that I enjoy as well. But yeah, it'd be really fun to hear what kind of things you're filling your time with these days.
I'm about to add pickleball and cameraman to my resume.